Hi everyone, welcome back to OC Avery and welcome back to the Natives of Norwich Zoom Room. Now in today's episode we're joined by Mr. Bernard Williams. Many of you may know the name from this book right here. Bernard wrote this book himself a good few years ago now. British Birds, Mules and Hybrids. Fantastic read. Now what we're focusing on in today's episode, we're building it up out of a few episodes from the whole Zoom Room call. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at pied greenfinches. Now Bernard has bred pied greenfinches over the past few years and he's always strived to try and breed clear pied greenfinches, or which are, in his word, variegated greenfinches. So something we're going to explore today is his pied greenfinches lines, his clear pied greenfinches, how he produces these, and some exciting results that he's had this year's breeding season with his pieds as well. Now I just have to say a huge thank you to Avian World Dublin for sponsoring Natives in Norwich, and we are running a competition soon, so make sure you join the Natives in Norwich group on Facebook. The link's in the description. Also in the description is the link to Bernard Williams' website where you can find all sorts of information about breeding British birds, their mules and their hybrids. So let's get right to it. Then. So we've seen you strive regularly to breed your clear pieds, and obviously you've succeeded a number of times. So what do you look for in your pairings? You know, what's the best pairing which you've found produces this the most?
The best pairing as far as, well, the thing was when I first started, most of the birds that you got had only got a small tick mark. You'd only got little small marks, and you didn't see any light birds like you see today. So there's two trains of thought with this. I see that one of the questions we've got to talk about is whether you lose size when you pair two pieds. Well, you do. You do definitely lose size when you pair pieds. But you first of all got to develop a line, and you've got to decide where you're going. Depends if you're going for the show line or whether you're going for clarity or clearness of a bird.
Yeah.
You know, the standard, of which I was part and parcel when we actually did that with Bob Partridge, said that the standard must be 50-50 green variegation and as deep a yellow that you can get. The problem is with that bird is to get a clear yellow bird and a clear green bird, it can only be a single factor. Because I don't know if you know, but pieds are single and double factored.
Yes.
And so when you're starting again, it depends whether you're going to go for single factored pieds and follow the standard. That standard would mean you would have a nice grass green colour with a nice yellow body, and you're obviously trying to get that at 50-50.
Yeah.
Well, I'll explain what happens. If you put a very light bird to a non-pied bird, you'll get them nice markings that are explained in the standard. Now, the following season, you've then got birds that are all single factors. Them single factors are holding the colour well. You haven't removed very much melanin out of the pigmentation, and but you are creating the pied markings. And obviously, you're trying to create a trait, what we call a trait, which is to make the bird all look very similar, of evenly marked, pretty looking birds that are single factors. The minute you pair two of those together to improve yourself, I've found that you've then got a double factor. And the minute you come on to double factors, the green colour goes grey. And the yellow starts to wash out to white. So I was left with a decision to make early on as to whether to carry on breeding single factors and carry on showing to the standard that me and Bob and some others set originally in the 90s for this new pied greenfinch, because that's how they breed cockatiels and that's how they breed zebra finches and lots of other birds. They want a 50-50 good depth of colour, good even depth of colour between both colours. So it's a greenfinch green and a nice yellow colour. Obviously, you can't get the yellow colour on a hen because a lot of it tends to wash away with the hens. but the cocks
Right.
you would. As soon as you put two yellows together, two single factors together, you've then washed all the green away. So it goes grey.
Wow.
And I don't know if you ever noticed with a pied that a lot of the pied birds, the lighter they get, the greyer the green goes. It's not a green anymore, it's a grey. So these
Right.
lines that show you a bird that's bred off a top quality exhibition normal greenfinch, you'll get the size, but you don't get the colour. In the first year of breeding with a pied, you will get the colour, but then if you want to enhance and you do the same thing again, you've then bred double factors and you've washed all your green away to grey. But the birds will start to get lighter.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22. Some breeders at that point will go normal to pied, then to pied, and then back to normal. That way you can maintain your size a little bit, but you lose it on the second year, but you pull it back on the third year. So then we've created another problem that we're putting melanin colour back in by going back to normal.
Yeah.
And that's how the pied goes continually until I got to the point that I thought I can't. If I want to produce a winner, I go out and buy a good quality greenfinch. I buy a nice light pied and put them together, and I'll breed a bird capable to show. But what I did find, and this is only what I find, I mean, I'd like to know if other people find it differently, but I found that then your size starts to drop the more you go pied to pied, and your size and the depth of colour of the green gets reduced. After about 8 years, I produced some. They were nearly all buffs when I started, but eventually bred a yellow. And I eventually got to a point where I was putting yellow to buff, but I was double factoring each time. So I worked on the fact that I wanted to clear the bird altogether and make it completely clear. And, and so that's what we did. And if you look at this bird, this was bred this year, and that's a clear buff hen. That's a clear buff hen, but the clear bird isn't the one at the front. The clear bird's the one at the back.
Right. Got you.
You can see just around the cheek. There's a little bit of black on that first bird.
So slightly ticked then, isn't she?
That's slightly ticked, very, very slightly, but it is still ticked. But its sister is completely clear. But they're both the same way bred. Both 2021 birds. Both black-eyed, of course. And they're both buffs. You know, well, they're looking buffs, to be honest, but I'm not sure we are. So that was this year's breeding. And some of the birds along the way, is, I don't know if I have to keep screen sharing. There again, can you see the slight suffusion marks on the neck?
Yes. Wow.
So there's still some slight variegated marks on the neck of that bird. But we've kept the yellow. We've now gone from a buff bird to a yellow bird. And,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and what we're doing is with the Lutino, I don't know if you've ever noticed, you don't get that rich yellow colour with the Lutino. It's very hard. Most Lutinos are nearly white now. And many have tried, and we've had a few real good ones. I think I remember Baz Moses showed one that won everywhere. There was a couple of others that have been shown that have done really well. But most Lutinos, albeit they're red-eyed, they haven't got that intensity of colour. So the pied did a lovely job. So that was another reason for me to try and the first pied that I bred, the first clear pied that I bred, was this bird. And, you got that one?
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So that was the first one that I bred, and that one I decided I'd got to show because it was the first one I'd ever seen. And you get conflicting marks on the internet because you keep seeing odd birds, but the reality is half of them are Lutinos and Lutino crosses, and they put in Lutinos in that. And I needed to know where my birds were coming from. So there's no Lutino but anywhere near these birds. Again, that's a black-eyed. And that bird won at the All British. It won best unflighted colour variant. But it wasn't shown in the pied class. This is where we come on now, because it wasn't shown in the pied class. It was shown as a clear in the any other variety class.
Right.
Because
okay.
putting it in the pied class would, if I put that bird in the pied class, it would be wrong class because I was responsible as much as anybody else for that by saying a pied had to be 50-50.
Yeah.
And now I realise that that's the exhibition standard, and that's what we must judge to.
Yeah.
But getting birds like this means the bird isn't a pied at all. It's a variegated. And I believe that these birds are actually variegated and not pied.
They're brilliant. So, was that a yellow?
That was yellow. That was a yellow cock.
Right.
And that cock is 4-year-old now, and yes, it'd be coming up to 5 this time. So the object is, do I pair him to that buff end that you've just seen, or even to both those buff ends you've just seen? But what you do get is you obviously get a drop in the size.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting normals in. But if you just spent like me 16 years trying to produce birds like this, and I've got to put a normal in straight into a line, it's a difficult decision to make because I'm going to lose 5 years of the work I've done. I'm going to go backwards for 5 years, then we start again. So I started to think at the time my best way would be to breed these birds for the way they are, and breed as many as I could. And there was the years where I was turning 90 of these out, 89.
Wow.
And varying variegations, obviously. But what I could do then is, because I was breeding volume, it was natural selection. So I kept the clearest and the biggest. But you do lose the size, and I'm at that point at this moment where really I need to put some good normals back in. But the minute I do that, I'm scared so I'm running a few normals now alongside. Dave Hammond helped me out with a bird. There's a couple of lads helped me out with a bird, just so that I can run them alongside with a pied single factors till I'm happy I've got enough malining out, but kept the size up a bit. But obviously, each time I put a pied back in, we lose size again.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we'll go from there. I've stopped showing them. I've stopped showing them really because they're too important for me to. The first one I had to show for a few shows. It got a bit skittish after that, so I didn't show it again. But it's okay now. It sits as steady as a rock. But is it worth risking a bird on a show to win a rosette when it's the mainstay is stood?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say it's a special bird, isn't it? So you can't really put that at risk.
Wow. Just show you one more, and then we'll move on from that if you want to. I don't want to.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Because of your time. But that's Christopher with one in his hands. Wow, that's a young bird. Now that bird never reached maturity. Now, I've bred 2 or 3 like that were completely clear. And with going light and things like that, I've lost a few. I did lose one with an eye problem, because you do get the odd eye problems with the lighter pieds.
Right.
So I lost that as well. So, I have bred 4 or 5, but you've just seen the 2 best. And I still have those 2. So I'm hoping for one last year with the yellow cock, albeit he's been round probably 50% of the hens in my setup. He's in there somewhere, you know. He's in the line. To the point
Brilliant.
that this year, the bird we showed in the first place, that bird, the young bird that we showed you, I'll just show you this one.
Yeah.
This young bird that this is hitting just as it's left its parent, well, but it's still with its parents. There you go. Can you see that one?
Look at that. Yeah.
Now that's now that was bred off as a large normal cock with a a large normal hen, no pied in it whatsoever, to a 70-30 pied, 70% clear, 30% dark.
And is that a completely clear bird, this one?
That's completely, absolutely clear, not a mark on it anywhere.
Fantastic. What a brilliant result, getting actually, clears out of those darker birds as well.
That's the thing that worries me about now. Dave Googlin's question was, do I think we lose size? Yes, I do. In the same context, I think when we had a normal, we lose pied.
Yeah.
So this bird has just totally shown me something else, because it's bred off a normal with a 70% clear double factor cock, and it's produced a full clear. So that's now out of that nest, it produced the clear. It produced the bird I showed you before with a little bit on the side of the face, on the cheek. And the cheek marks are the hardest to remove. The colour's very hard to move. But what it does show me is that, so there was them two. There was a 50-50 dark, showable, because he was still quite dark, and two fully yellow greens, very bright, vivid yellow greens, with just a little teeny mark on the neck. So that was the mixed nest of 5. So that was a nice sample mating. The second round, she produced me 1, so I was a bit disappointed, because this was the first round, and you actually see this bird being rung on the when I did a video with Matt on his channel, and that bird was rung that day on that video. But it's come from a normal. It's come from a normal crossed with a double factor pie. So
that's a brilliant result, isn't it? Well done. That's amazing.
What it's telling me is that perhaps if I do add an odd normal in, I can keep the pied going. But whether down the line that will start to go bad on me, again, it's all just guesswork. But we'll see what that bird produces, because the fact remains is we may have put a lot of melanin back into that bird in his genes, but on the other hand, it may still stay clear, and we might still breed some lights next year, which will do me good, because I've been able to put a normal outcross in without keeping the dark birds, But the dark birds I've now sold on, because they're not fit for purpose for me, really. But I'm still a bit concerned, really, that if I'd got in the room, I should have kept them, because what happens if they throw another clear out,
Yeah, I guess they could do, but you can't keep everything, can you?
People that have had them will let me know if they do, and but my birds need to be here, not somewhere else.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's the pied, really. People. I keep hearing on forums on the internet where people say this bird is what's it called, a carrier. There's no such thing as a carrier to pied.
No,
and I don't know where they keep having that from. But if a bird's got white toenails, it's a pied. If it's got white toenails, it's not coloured anywhere. I get rid of it. It's of no use. It'd take 10 generations to turn that bird into anything of any use. It could be of use if it's big with white toenails, as what we call a dark pied. to put in with a lighter bird to keep the size and the strength of the colour, you know. So,
absolutely.
So that's where they are useful, but generally they're not of much use, and there's no such thing as pied in hiding, which I've heard it called as, or you know, or even carrier for pied.
Exactly.
It's a dominant.
Pied is dominant, so it's either pied or it's not. There's no such thing as carrier. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think people get it mixed up with sex linked sometimes, and then that's where
right.
you can get confusion in there. But I mean, thank you for showing us all that. I mean, that's fantastic.
So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. So that's the first part coming out. So that's pied greenfinches for you, and that's many of the experiences Bernard's had over the past few years when breeding his pieds. Hopefully you've learned something from today's episode and enjoyed it as well. So like I said earlier, if you want to find more information about Bernard's book, as well as all the British birds, mules and hybrids he's bred, then there's a link in the description below to Bernard's website where you can find all sorts of information about that. Not only just British birds in finches and stuff like that, but also soft bills. There's a variety of experiences there, and we will be doing another Zoom room, I'm sure, with Bernard about his soft bill experiences in the future. So this is part one for you. Next week we've got breeding hawfinches, and then we've also got the history of the hobby and the show scene from Bernard. So huge thank you to Bernard for coming on the show. Thank you Avian World Dublin for sponsoring Natives in Norwich. The link's in the description as well if you want to join the Natives in Norwich group on Facebook. We've got a competition running soon. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you'd like to see more, smash the like, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video.